Murder style, y'all.
Insanity, insanity, whatever happened to humanity?
Ooh, man, I got something heavy to lay on y'all on this review. Okay, Blood Would Tale, Tezuka Osamu's Dororo, which is called Dororo in Japan. The game is a 2004 PlayStation 2 game, and it's a good one. In this story, you play as Yakimaru, who had much of his body stolen by 48 fiends and has prosthetic replacements. Along with his ally and thief, Dororo, Yakimaru must defeat all 48 fiends. Now, in 2004, I came across this game. I didn't buy it from no, gaming stores or nothing like that. This game kind of came across me in a lucky term because this guy in high school, his name is Bashar Rajput. He probably don't watch none of my reviews. Shame on him because I'm giving him a shout out. He used to let me borrow games in high school, and if he didn't want them, then he would sell them to me. He let me borrow Blood Would Tell, but first he was trying to see if I could buy it, and I told him, no, let me try it out first. He let me borrow it, and I liked the game. I thought the game was pretty good, but I was too young to get compelled to how challenging this game was. But ever since then, I've been trying to look for this game because I was telling people about the game and how this game was and the story to it, but I never found out the name of it. And Vishal just disappeared. I think he went to another school or something. But anyway, I missed out a lot because ever since I've came across this game back then, I was only 14 years old. I am 32 years old now. Let's say, man, I bought this game and I was lucky to get it, but man, they wanted an arm and a leg for it on eBay, and I spent $250 on this fucking game. Not the most I spent on a video game, but I have to say it's worth it. In fact, I should have stolen this game when I had the chance back in 2004 because I normally come across games or things that I've grown up with, and I pick up certain flaws or measurements back then that I didn't really recognize when I was younger. But Blood Would Tell is everything that I've remembered, including the challenges. This game is still tough, but at the same time, it is enjoyable and probably one of the best PS2 games I have ever played. And that's saying a lot because I have a lot of them. The game story is just as engaging as the combat and anything else. This game kind of has like that same similarity when it comes to demons roaming up and you have to defeat them all and stuff like that just so you can find the source of where the demons is coming from. But it's very creative how these demons got originated and why they're coming after Yakimaru. And it all starts with not just with him, but as his father, where he craves power and craves for immortality as he sells his soul to the devil. And the devil wanted his infant child, but not to the point where they wanted his soul. They wanted his body parts. And at the same time, his child was exiled after all his parts were stolen. So this scientist finds Yakimaru and turned this nigga into a freaking weapon. I mean, for Christ's sakes, man, his freaking arms can turn to freaking blades if things end up being too hasty. And if that's not enough, his freaking legs can shoot shoulder cannons and stuff like that. You can even shoot regular guns on here. You can use like a freaking AK. I think it's an AK. I'm not really sure, but they have a lot of good material in this game with the story, which brings you into the gameplay itself. I was thinking to myself, if this game is so good when it comes to the compelling side of the story of Yakimaru's character, how's the gameplay going to be? Well, the gameplay is pretty good, pretty fluid in a way. Each maneuver you use for Yakimaru's character, either if you're using swords or if you're using other weapons such as the blaze that comes out of his arms, or if you just want to shoot your way through the enemies, which the bullets is kind of really stingy, so you gotta be very, very, very careful when you want to use your ammunition. All of it plays out pretty well. It doesn't stand out. In fact, I was more compelled to using all the maneuvers of his character, even when I was beginning to find some of the body parts that was adding on to his character so I could play even more and be more intertwined of the missions, me coming across the enemies, and just me being impacted with what more they had in store for me. I was falling in love with the game and I was beginning to feel like I was 14 years old all over again. Dororo, even though I like Yakimaru's character, he is like the emotional weight to the game. Kind of feels like a samurai version of The Last of Us. Dororo's character, he's not bad. Dororo is a pretty cool guy. I like Dororo.
Why are you following me?
That sword in your arm. I bet it was forged by a master swordsmith.
I don't know. Maybe it was. It works good enough for me.
I thought so. You mind if I take it?
Dororo is basically a thief, and he tagged along Yakimaru because he wanted to steal his sword. But you begin to like him as the game progresses. In fact, Dororo ends up becoming a major piece to the game, and I wasn't even aware of this until much later. And you begin to play as Dororo. Dororo is a thief, like I mentioned, so you begin to find ways through the obstacles of you sneaking past enemies, stealing things from enemies, or at the same time trying to jump over obstacles, jump over traps, and make sure that you don't get killed. Dororo can fight, but he is not as a threatening character as Yakimaru. Dororo is a child, so what do you expect? He is no Ellie, since I compared this to The Last of Us. But Dororo, he can hold his own. And I kind of see what they've done here. They've done everything with the combat simulator, the shooting simulator, and just you being into the samurai sides of Yakimaru's character. What weapons can he use? I would recommend you using the blades, though. Not samurai swords, even though you can unlock samurai swords on this game, and they have different types of samurai swords depending on which enemy you defeat. But it's a high recommendation. Use the blades. You can level them up, they get stronger, you can take out bosses easy with the dual blades. But Dororo, they added his character on here just so they can give you a stealth aspect. And it plays out well. I didn't think there was a problem with this. Some people may have had a problem with it because it kind of takes away from the combat. But I felt like this was a necessary gesture, and it got me into liking Dororo's character even more. The boss battles is just as intense too. Some of these battles, as I mentioned, can be challenging. Some can be pretty tough, but I'll explain that later in the game. But let's just talk about how the fluidity of the bosses is. I like them. They're pretty challenging, but at the same time, it can be pretty easy anyway. When you begin to study the enemies, you can pretty much fuck them up if your brain is up here, not down to the point where you're getting frustrated of these enemies taking too much damage. These enemies take too much damage from you because these enemies are easily to get killed. So if you just calm down, just let the enemies try to attack you and you dodge the the attacks. These enemies have like 2 or 3 types of move sets. That is it. And before you know it, you already at the final boss. The design of the enemies and the bosses and just the story itself, it gives me that type of gesture of just me liking these type of games, especially when it comes to it being based on those running times. I talked about this on a lot of my reviews, such as BloodRayne Curse of the Yoma, and it gave me these vibes. It gave me these vibes of me being in a BloodRayne anime. If you like animes like like BloodRayne Curse of the Yoma, or just any type of anime that's based on these running times, like Sugar Rai Death Frenzy, you should pick this game up. But hey, if you're willing to spend over $100, or if you have a friend that has this game, steal it from his ass. He don't care about it. Now, the reason why I'm saying that this game can be challenging when it comes to the enemies is the lack of the lock-on feature. You can't lock on to your enemies. They have a button to where you could use your character to be in the stance of him defending himself. But at the same time, you cannot log on to any enemies that is coming to your path or any flying enemies that are shooting and chucking fucking projectiles at you. It is pretty frustrating, especially when you have over 5 or 6 enemies trying to gang rape you at once. It is freaking atrocious. And I feel like that needs to be mentioned on a game like this. I love this game, but that doesn't mean that this game is perfect. And the camera. God damn. Why is it so hard for games that's from the early 2000s to get the camera angle right? I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, it's not saying much. The camera is not that bad, but it is Summoner bad. And that is saying a lot. Because Summoner, Jesus Christ. Anyway, moving on. This game is bursting with content. After you beat the game, you have another event story that is featuring Doro, and you can sneak around enemies and stuff. So it's basically his own little game. I wasn't able to beat it because it was too freaking tough. Because the deeper I got, the more harder the enemies was, and I had to get this review out of here. So yeah, so you unlock a lot of things as you beat the game. So please stay tuned after you beat the game, especially towards the ending. The ending was very, very, very intense. I didn't expect it to be like this, and it made me realize again that this game is worth $100. I know it's saying a lot, because I know people won't even spend $60 on the game, but it's because of the quality of the game. I feel like by this game being the way it is from 2004 up until now, there are games that we buy on new generation consoles that don't got this much material when it comes to the story, the combat. Even though I did say the combat is lacking the maneuvers of it having a lock-on feature, the great cinematography of the characters, and that's the reason why I compare this to The Last of Us, because unlike The Last of Us franchise that has fell apart after the first one, not after the second one, after the first one, Blood Will Tell knows how to stay in its lane. And I'm actually surprised that a game like this didn't really go forward as into making a movie or at least an anime. Wait, what? Oh, they did? Oh, okay. But other than that, I love this game so much. This game has literally played a place in my heart to the point where I had to buy it in the highest price. And I have to recommend people who has been watching my reviews and they pay attention to my recommendations. Hey, look, I know it's a lot of money, but if you do have the money and if you're willing to try to collect rare good games like this, I suggest you pick this up. Buy it. No matter how much you spent on it, I guarantee you won't regret it. It's worth the price. I'm gonna have to give Blood Will Tell a B-. This game fucking rocks. I love games like this, especially when I don't know what I'm expecting and I don't watch trailers and stuff, and I'm just playing it. I'm like, what the hell? Especially when you don't gotta worry about DLC, you don't gotta worry about season passes. This game comes out like this, and you're getting everything. I just miss developers just putting all things on to what it's going to be, without pushing back the release dates, and you getting it the way it is. It's a big risk, but at the same time, most of the times the risk pays off because everybody had their own favorite developers back then. Now these developers are beginning to fall apart because of the lack of material, putting a damn price tag on it. Other than that, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more of my upcoming reviews and videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher. Buy the fucking game and have a good day.